Hi, in this video we're going to show you how to create an unattended answer file to install Windows with, and then we're going to show you how to embed it into your ISO file so that way you could install it on as many computers as you need, and then you could do things such as burn it with Rufus or Ventoy and then make a bootable flash drive with it. Alright, so we're going to be using this tool here from MEMS Tech Tips, this unattended Winstall app here. Alright, so there's several components to it. So if we scroll down here, it tells you what it does. It gives you this other script file, which we'll talk about in a second here. All right, so this is going to be done via PowerShell, and this is the command here. So we're going to be using this in a second, and they have some instructions, but we're going to be going over that anyways. So when you go to this page, which I'll put in the description, there is releases section here. And here you'll find their own unattended script here that they've created, but we're going to do our own custom one in case you don't want to use theirs. This one's kind of optimized for the best Windows experience, but you might want to kind of tweak it to be your own. And then there's this script file here, which you could use afterwards to kind of tweak and debloat Windows even further. And you could also use this on a current Windows installation that you haven't custom made. So we'll show you that too at the end. All right, so first we're going to make our unattend file here from this site here. We're just going to start from scratch here. So we'll go down the list real quick and just kind of make a little custom one here. We'll do English, no second language or third language. Home location, United States, 64-bit processor, Intel based. We have the ARM64 version 2. And then if you want to do the bypass Windows 11 requirements, if you're doing this on unsupported hardware, you could do that as well. And then you could also do it without an internet connection if you don't have an internet connection for your computer when you're installing it. All right, then if you want to make a custom computer name besides the random one here, we'll just call this W11 test, since it's going to be a Windows 11 test computer. Then you could provide your own PowerShell scripts. We're going to not use Compact OS. We'll let Windows determine the time zone. We're going to let Windows set up the partitions and format it. So we're going to use GPT. So that way we don't even have to bother with the step for setting up the hard drives. All right, then for the recovery environment, we'll let it make its own recovery partition. You could actually remove it if you don't want it. All right, you could actually use some diskpart custom scripts here if you want to really fine-tune how your drive is configured. We're just going to leave it as is. We'll let Windows install itself to the first available partition. And then there's some beta section here for running some scripts to check your disk layout. We'll leave that alone. And then for the product key, you could use a generic product key, but it's not going to be activated. And then we're going to be using Windows 11 Pro, but you could pick other versions. You could put in your own product key or do it during setup or use the one from your BIOS. All right, then it gives you some default users here that it'll make. It's going to make an admin account with no password in the administrators group. We're going to make our own custom user here because down here it says log in the first administrator account created above. So we're going to move this down here. We're going to make this other one here, call it Bob. And for the display name, we'll just say it Bobby. And the password, we'll just put password. Obviously, you want to pick something better than that. You can leave it blank, of course, too. All right, so it's going to log in Bobby after Windows is installed. And then you could also have it activate the built-in admin account and log in using that, or don't log in at all, and then you'll be prompted to sign in. Or you could add a Microsoft account if you want to do that. All right, password's never going to expire. Use the default account lockout policy if you want, or you could disable the policy if you don't want to have to worry about it. All right, now File Explorer tweaks. We will do Show All Files. Always show file extensions. Use the classic right-click context menu. We'll see if that works or not. And then you could also have it open to this PC instead of quick access. Let's do that. And then we'll do the show end task command in the taskbar. It'll be hard to remember all these to test them all out, but we'll see what happens here. Then you could set up your search box, how you want to see it. We'll just go with the default big one there. All right, and then for icons, for the taskbar, you could use the default, remove all of them, or do your own custom setup there. We'll disable the widgets. We'll put the taskbar on the left, hide the task view. Don't show Bing results in the start menu. So here's Windows 10 options. We're not going to worry about that. All right, so there's an upcoming section about removing bloatware. So we will use the remove all pins option because it says avoid this setting if you're going to be doing that. All right, disable Windows Defender and update. This won't really disable it. I don't think it'll just pause it. You could disable UAC, fast startup. Let's see what else we have here. Turn off the system sounds. Let's prevent encryption, even though we shouldn't have to worry about that for Windows 11 Pro. We'll get rid of this hide Edge first run experience. You could also make it so people can't uninstall Edge. We'll use the default setting for visual effects, where you could check all these boxes for custom settings. Default desktop icons. Let's add something else here. Let's add control panel just to see if it works. And then if you're doing it on a virtual machine, you could have it install the VirtualBox guest editions, VMware tools, or VirtIO guest tools, and so on. Okay, we're going to skip Wi-Fi connection because we're going to be using Ethernet, which you could put in the SSID and the password. Then you could configure a Wi-Fi XML file if you want to get technical. We will disable all of these diagnostic data settings here. We won't worry about lock keys. We won't worry about personalization colors here. Let's use a solid color for the background just to make sure it works. Let's go for orange. And then here you could remove some apps. So let's just remove some of these ones that we know we're not going to use. All right, let's just stop at ClipChamp and we'll check ClipChamp if you remember to do it here. All right, then there's some custom scripts if you want to do that. Windows Defender application control, we'll leave that alone. We'll leave the placeholders alone. Okay, so we're going to download our file, and we're going to use the default name here. So the XML file. Okay. All right, so now for the next step here, we're going to open PowerShell as an administrator. So what you need to do first, if you haven't done this before, is to set the execution policy to unrestricted. So you would just copy and paste this command in here. I've already done it, but let's see what happens if I do it again. Then you do yes to all here for A. All right, so that's done. All right, so now we're going to copy in this command here into PowerShell. This is the one from the GitHub website we were just looking at. And I'll try and put some instructions in the description so it makes a little more sense because I know I'm going through it kind of fast here. All right, we'll press enter. All right, so now it opens up this new window here. So we need to select our ISO file. So I just have the standard one downloaded from Microsoft for Windows 11 24H2 on desktop there. All right, so we need to select a working directory. I'll just put this on the E drive because I know there's space there. Click on Start. And you could also download an ISO file from here as well. All right, this will take a minute. All right, so once that says start, then you know you're good here. So click on next. All right, so now here is where we will put our answer file that we just created. So you could download one that's already been set up for you, but we're going to do our custom one by clicking on select file. Pick the one we just downloaded there from our custom setup. Click on next. All right, so if you want to add drivers from your current Windows installation, so the computer you're working on, you could do that. So let's say you were going to reinstall on the same computer, you could extract and add drivers from this Windows installation, or add your own custom drivers, which is coming soon, so that's not available, but it might be by the time you're watching this. All right, so if you don't have this oscd.img file, you're going to have to download it by clicking on that, and it'll just do it automatically for you, but I already have that. All right, so we're going to pick a location to place the new ISO file that'll have all of our information from our autounnatend file here. So we'll put this on the D drive as well. And we'll call this custom 11. All right, then we'll click on create ISO. So this is actually pretty quick. All right, so that's done. So if we go back here, here's our custom ISO file. So now what I'm going to do is get another new bare metal computer ready to go, and then we'll start the installation with this custom 11 ISO file, and we'll see how it works. So I'll be right back. All right, so we did the press any key to boot from CD. So now we're starting our installation here from this new ISO file. All right, so you're going to see this command box here doing its thing. And you can see it's going right into, we're getting a few things ready. All right, so it went right into the installation. We didn't have to pick a version. We didn't have to configure the disks or anything like that. So it's just starting the installation. All right, so I'll be pausing the video for this part because obviously it's going to take a little bit for it to get to the next step. All right, so we're doing our first reboot here. All right, so we'll pause again while this part completes. All right, you saw the little box pop up. It was running some scripts there. All right, restarting again. All right, checking for some updates. All right, doing another reboot. All right, so now we're on the screen where it sets up the profile when you first log on with a new user. So it automatically logged on our Bob account and is setting up the desktop. So we'll pause for this too because this will take a minute. Okay, so here is our desktop. So Bobby is the display name because we changed it to Bobby even though the user is Bob. All right, so it's still doing something else here. And there comes our orange background that we configured. And we have our start button off to the left here with the bigger search box here. No widgets, no task view. So I'm recording at a low resolution here, so it's kind of cutting off some of the other stuff. So here's our control panel icon that we told it to put on the desktop. All right, let's see what we have here. Do we have ClipChamp? Nope, no ClipChamp. And some of the other apps that we chose not to use are not here either. Let's go to the settings. Okay, so Windows is not activated. Here's the name we gave our computer, W11 test. Let's check the accounts here. So Bobby. Other users, we have our admin account and our user account, which should be a standard user. Yep. We have our Ethernet connection working here. So we have our 80 gig hard drive configured as one big drive there. So that's looking good. Looks like we have our file extension shown, so that's good too. All right, there might have been some other things that we configured that I don't remember, but it looks like everything that we've put in the unattend file has worked. All right, so let me go back to the other computer and then we'll continue. Okay, so we're back here. We could close this out. Now, if you want to clean up the directory to free up space, we'll say yes. All right, so now we have this UW script file here that we could run. Let me see if I still have it in my history here. There it is. All right, so for you to run this, actually I'm in the wrong directory, so let me get to the right directory first here. Let's copy this. All right, we'll run it. All right, so we have some options here. So like I said, you could use this on your freshly installed Windows installation, or you could use it on an existing computer. So if we press 1, for example, you could install software or remove bloatware apps. But if you do remove bloatware apps, it's going to remove everything so you don't get a choice. And then for installation, you only get a few options there too. Then you have your privacy and security settings. You could go through that. Windows updates. Optimize the registry. I don't know if you want to do that or not. Probably not. Tasks and services. You could set up minimal services, default services, and so on. Power settings. Recommended and default. Let's exit out of that. And that's that. Okay, so let's go back here on this page here. Actually, we want this page. All right, so what we did. All right, so here's that PowerShell file we just ran for the debloating tweaking. So that's a whole separate thing here. All right, so you want to do the set execution policy unrestricted from admin PowerShell prompt there. And then here's the other command to start the process. Actually, the whole thing there. It has some instruction here too as well. And then if you go to the releases, under the assets, you could use their pre-configured autounnatend file if you want. Or you could go to this website and make your own. So I'll put a link in the description for that. And then here's a way to download the script for the debloating and tweaking. And the rest of it's just done via PowerShell. All right, so like I said, I'll just put some quick instructions in there, and then you could refer to these pages too, or watch the video again if you have to. And then that way you can make your own custom Windows ISO file. And then like I said too, you could just use Rufus or Ventoy or something like that to burn it to a flash drive and make it bootable, and then install it as often as you need. All right, thanks for watching, and be sure to subscribe.